Good evening and welcome to the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball National Semifinal Game 2 post-game press conference featuring the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll hear an opening statement from Coach and follow up with questions from our student athletes Hannah Stuelke and Caitlin Clark. Student athletes will then be dismissed, and then we'll open up the floor for questions for Coach. Coach, if you could, please give us a brief opening statement, and then we'll move forward to the questions.
Couldn't be happier with our performance tonight in the second half. First half was a little rough for us, but we really kept believing. And I'm just so proud of the character of these young women to maintain their composure through some pretty tough times in the first half. And we got it to within 6 at halftime, and we felt good about that. I thought Hannah Stuelke was amazing tonight, but we're really thrilled to be playing in the championship game for the second year in a row.
As a reminder to those in the room, please raise your hand. We'll get the microphones to you. We'll start with Howard, go to Nancy, and then the gentleman in the gray, and then I'll work my way around the room.
Howard Magdal, the next. Congratulations to all of you. Caitlin, we spoke about Hannah in February. You talked about wanting to get her more involved. The next game, she scored 47 points. Here we are 2 months later, and she has the game that she just had. Just take me through that process, what you've seen, and what Hannah has done over this period of time to further establish herself.
Yeah, I think Hannah's tremendous. And I think it's just the confidence and belief. I think tonight she played with an energy about herself of, she really could go in there and dominate. And, she goes toe to toe with Aaliyah Edwards, who in my mind is one of the best players in the country. Was physical with her, guarded her well, boxed her out. And she wasn't afraid to take it at her either. I thought when they subbed in some post players off the bench, Hannah continued to go at them. And I'm just super happy for Hannah. She's worked so hard to be in this moment. She was 5 for 7 from the free throw line, makes some big free throws for us. But yeah, she was definitely a difference maker. So I think this is the Hannah we all know. Just having that confidence within herself, because we all have it in her. So just would be super happy for her.
I'm going to move to our right, Nancy.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Hannah, what was working for you tonight, and how much has the confidence that your teammates have in you made a difference for you this season?
I think the confidence is everything, especially hearing, Caitlin Clark talk about me like that. It gives you a confidence boost. I think anyone would say that. But they just fed me the ball very well, and the ball was going in for me tonight. So
I'm going to go to the second row. We'll go to Trey, then we'll go Jonathan Tannenwald, and then we'll move over. I do have Jeff and a couple other folks in the queue as well.
Trey Modlin, WOVU 95.9 FM. What was UConn doing so well in the first half to limit your team to 26 points and to limit you, Caitlin, to 6 points?
Is that a question for both student athletes?
Yes.
We'll start with Caitlin.
Honestly, UConn's a really good defensive team. They're one of the best defensive teams we've seen all year. I think Nika did a tremendous job guarding me. We got some good looks. They just didn't go in. And sometimes that's just what happens. We missed some easy bunnies around the rim. But I think the best thing about our group is, we went to the locker room at halftime, and, it wasn't like, oh, come on, you got to make shots. It was, no, stop turning the ball over and you're going to be perfectly fine. We knew at some point our shots were going to go down. And, we put up 45 points in the second half, 25 in the third quarter, came out in the fourth quarter and started really hot. So I don't think it was a freaking out of our offense not working. I think it was just it'll come around. We didn't execute great, and we were only down 6. We felt really confident in that, and nobody panicked. Everybody knew just need to clean it up a little bit, and that's exactly what we did.
And Hannah?
she never leaves me anything to say.
Sorry. Not bad.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Jonathan up in the front.
Thanks. Jonathan Tannenwald of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Caitlin, this question is for you. Some of the shots in the first half for you obviously weren't falling late. There was a moment in the second quarter, you drove the lane for a layup, and it sounded like the Iowa fans knew right away that it was a big play, because shooters often, when they're not hitting from long range, they'll drive inside. Is that something that was on your mind to do in that moment?
Yeah, I think honestly, my shots felt really good in the first half. I thought a few of them were in, and sometimes that's what happens as a shooter. You get a little cold. I think I was 0 for 6, and then finished 3 for 5 from the 3-point line in the second half. That's not too bad. And I think the biggest thing is don't fall in love with your 3-point shot. Get in the paint. get some easy baskets. Then that's kind of what I did. I would have liked to get my feet in the paint a little bit more in the second half, but they played really good defense on me, honestly. Like when I started driving, they threw two people at me. They were going to make me give up the ball. And I think that's one of the greatest ways our program has evolved over the course of, me being here. I used to feel like I had to do everything. And now, I have so much trust in my teammates, and my teammates have so much trust in me. And I just knew they were going to make plays down the stretch. Kate was huge down the stretch, made some big plays for us. And, that's the reason we won the game. It wasn't just Caitlin. It wasn't just Hannah. It was all 5 players on the court came up and made big plays at, really crucial times.
We're going to go to our right. Gentleman in the gray shirt, please proceed.
This was for both Caitlin and Hannah. Chrissy showing Akron Beacon Journal. Can you describe the wave of emotions just in those last 9.6 seconds? You go from the potential disappointment to the offensive foul and sort of the opportunity to kind of feel like, you were going to advance on.
We can start with Hannah.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever worried about the game. We had the chance to get a defensive stop, and that's what we did. Gabby's great in those situations. She always comes up with big plays, whether it's a block or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we had some costly turnovers there in our last 2 offensive possessions that, isn't really like us. We had 4 turnovers in the second half, and 2 of our turnovers come late in the fourth quarter. So, those are situations we get put in all the time in practice. So you would like to execute them better. But I think our group is so mature and so experienced that like, you don't have time to worry about that. Like it happened, it's over. You better focus and move on to the next play. And like Hannah said, like Gabby Marshall just comes up with big defensive plays all the time. Like you see it time and time again for us. And she doesn't get enough credit for what she does. She guards one of the best players in the country and really, challenges her quite a bit. Paige had a great game. I thought Gabby just played great defense on her. Even when Paige made some tough baskets, Gabby just responded and kept going up there and guarding her. So I'm really proud of her. And, I'm proud of our group for, just being able to flip the page and move on to the next play.
We're going to go Jeff, then Michelle, then Lindsay. Right here in front of you. Yep.
Kenny Rhoda, WHBC Radio. Caitlin, this is for you. A lot of the talk was Caitlin versus Paige, but this was a team win tonight.
Mhm.
How important is that for the confidence of everybody moving forward and for you as well?
Yeah, I think our team's confidence is pretty good at this point in the year. Obviously, there's only one more game left to go, and it doesn't surprise me. Like the reason we've won games all year long is because we play Iowa basketball, and that's sharing the ball, high assist numbers, low turnovers. Obviously, would have liked to have more assists tonight, but we didn't shoot the ball the greatest. We didn't, things like that. And I don't know. I think everybody's confidence has been at, an all-time high throughout the Big Ten tournament and during the NCAA tournament. And that's how it needs to be. And that's the reason we're at this point. Going into the national championship game is, everybody's stepping up. It's not just me. It's not just, one player. That's not what this is. We wouldn't be at this point right now if it was just one player. And, everybody comes up and makes really big plays when we need them. And, Sydney Falter has 6 offensive rebounds tonight. That's pretty incredible. So I think it's just, the small things. Everybody comes up and does little things that eventually, changes the tide of the game and we're able to win.
We'll go to our right, Michelle.
Michelle Smith from the Next. Caitlin, what did Kate Martin do for you guys tonight?
Yeah, I think poor Kate has gone quite a while without breaking her nose and having blood gush out of it. And then in one of her last career games, she's on the floor and she has hurt her nose again. I don't know if it's broken or not, but I think Kate's just toughness, resiliency, and leadership is the biggest thing. And you see it, like Kate's a pro player. Like you see her game, she's hitting fadeaway jump shots. She's going at people. The way she took over at the end of the fourth, she came up with, I think, 6 straight points for us. I'm just so proud of her. She's worked so hard over the course of this offseason. She knew she was going to be a focal point for us on offense. And, I couldn't be more proud of her. She's had a long career. She's, all she's ever dreamed of is being an Iowa Hawkeye, and she embodies that every single day.
We'll stay to our right.
Lindsay Schnell, USA Today. Hannah, the game was very physical at times. They were calling nothing, and then other times they were calling a lot, and then obviously ended with a big call. I wondered if you could talk about that, and then also you got your hand on Caitlin's missed free throw and tipped it to Sid. You have to do that sometimes when the game is so physical.
I think, yeah. The game's physical. It's basketball. Sometimes the refs are going to call it, sometimes they aren't. So we just had to play through that the whole game, and I thought we did that pretty well.
We're gonna go to the back, gentleman with the gray shirt, then we'll come up to the front, Dion, and then work our way to the gentleman in the second row. And then, yep, got you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Wiley Jahari, Spectrum News. I just want to know, how do you guys plan on handling South Carolina's inside dominance?
Well, I think the biggest thing is I haven't gone over a scouting report yet. I think just enjoying this win and celebrating this win, but you have 24 hours to turn the page and move on. And the great thing about us is we're not going to stay in one defense for too long. We're going to have a bunch of different things up our sleeves. We're going to try a bunch of different things, but South Carolina has been the top of the top. They're in a different league, and we're going to do everything we can to try to be right there with them. And but yeah, I think the biggest thing is enjoy this tonight, and we'll go over the scout early in the morning.
We're gonna go our far right, Dion.
All right, Dion Cash, Fox Sports. Congratulations, Hannah. When did you realize that you needed to kick in gear offensively? When you saw that Caitlin was kind of struggling offensively, and Caitlin, this is the matchup everybody wanted to see. The rematch, South Carolina, Iowa. How do you feel about that matchup? And that's pretty much it. We'll start with Hannah.
I think from the jump I was being aggressive. I thought I prepared better for this game than I did for the last. So
Yeah, I think feels like every time we're going into a game this NCAA tournament, it's like everybody wanted to see this. It's just one after the next. And so I think it's good for women's basketball. I mean, I think being in this moment before, I think, gives our group a good understanding of what to expect. We know what South Carolina brings to the table. We know we're going to have our hands full. The way that they played tonight was incredible. But it's the national championship. It's the last game of my career. It's the last game for 5 people on this team. So I don't think motivation will be hard to come by.
We're gonna stay to our right.
Caitlin, Mike Lucas, WKYC. When there was 1.1 seconds left, you ended up throwing off, I think it was Paige's back,
Yeah.
wasting some time. Was that something kind of just did instinctually? Is that something you and coach had spoken about as a way to kind of burn clock, or is that just kind of how the game played out and something you did on your own?
I think it's just like I watch a lot of basketball. I understand basketball, and she had her back turned to me. So the biggest point, the biggest thing at that point of the game is like, you just want the clock to go down. And I mean, you don't want to give them the ball, but she had her back completely turned. So I was just trying to waste some clock, and, just came to my brain. So I just went for it and kind of worked.
Staying to the front, you can hold the mic.
Dan Zakshevsky, Outkick. Caitlin, on the possession before the offensive foul, can you talk about what you saw on that play and why you decided to make the pass rather than try to score yourself?
Yeah, I think it was 39 seconds was the game clock, 30 on the shot clock. So a 9-second differential, and, I let it go down, and I think I started to drive right at about 9 seconds, and Aaliyah Edwards was guarding her, and she was popping straight up to the top of the key, and Aaliyah Edwards completely left her to come double or show on me. So the read is to give the ball up. Hannah made a great play. The other 2 girls helped in. They got a deflection on the ball and just were able to get the ball and call timeout. But that's the read. I'm giving the ball up 10 times out of 10. There's 2 people on me. I trust my teammates to make a play. And, UConn just played great defense. But I think the biggest thing is, like, after that turnover, we just went back right to the huddle, and Gabby came up with a huge defensive stop for us.
We'll take our last question.
Dominic Clary, Keon Sports. In the stands, it was deafening of the chants for you guys here tonight. What was it like essentially having all of Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse chanting, "Go Hawkeyes, go Iowa" for that entire game?
Honestly, I probably speak for both of us. Like, when you're in the heat of the game, like, you don't hear it. Like, you just don't, you're just like so locked in the game. You can like hear the noise, but like, you just are so focused on your teammates and like what's going on in the game. Like, you don't really hear it that much. I think once the game's over, you really appreciate it, but it's not surprising. I think the way our fans have traveled all year long has just been absolutely incredible. And, obviously Cleveland being like driving distance from Iowa City and the state of Iowa, a lot of them had made the trek, and, it makes the games a lot more fun for us. So we're just super grateful.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Caitlin. Best of luck Sunday. A reminder for all in the room that the Iowa locker room is open until 12:19. UConn's locker room is currently open as well, 11:57 through 12:27, and that the mix zone for Iowa closes at 12:19 as well. And at this time, we will open up questions for Coach. We'll start with Nancy.
Hey, Lisa, Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. The game was obviously very physical, and I'm wondering what you thought about that. And, there were things that, a lot of things that were not called, and then there was that, the offensive call at the end. What did you see with that in particular?
I really didn't see the offensive call at the end. I was kind of blocked. Excuse me. I didn't see that. I thought that there was a lot of, like Caitlin really didn't have freedom of movement, but at this point that they're not going to call a lot, especially after last year when, Caitlin and Angel were on the bench. I think you're just not going to see a lot of calls happen right now. And
Want to stay to our right? If you could raise your hand so the microphone can reach you, and then Michelle, you'll be next.
Kenna Roaring with the Daily Iowan. What did you say to your team in the locker room at halftime?
I was really proud of them. I mean, we got it cut to 6 points. We were down 12. We got it cut to a real manageable number by halftime. That's all you can ask. We came out really well in the third quarter. I thought our defense led to some good offense for us, and it kind of got us rolling in that third quarter. We just talked about valuing the ball. We just turned the ball over. That's how our defense was really pretty good. I mean, they scored 13 points off of our turnovers. So we take that out of the mix, and it's a totally different half.
Michelle, you're next. Howard, you'll go next, and then gentleman behind you.
Hi, Lisa. Michelle Smith from The Next. I want to ask you first about Kate Martin's game tonight. And then I also want to ask you, where does the confidence come from to go into the locker room in the national semifinal and say, we're okay, let's just go back to what we're doing in this sort of with the stakes in the atmosphere?
It's the only thing you can do, right? I mean, truly, it's do or die. And you have to do what you do best. And we were not playing what we call Iowa basketball in the first half. We weren't passing the ball. We were turning the ball over too much. But I was pleased with our defense and our rebounding. We out-rebounded them by 8 for this game. So, we just thought, let's get back to valuing the ball, trying to get some stops so we can get some pushes. And honestly, everybody was feeling pretty good at that point. You try not to think about the end, right? I mean, that's just, and then when you start thinking about, if we don't do this, we're going to lose, you're going to lose. So it was all forward facing, all forward moving, and we were going to try to, come out and win that game.
Coach, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Kate Martin, what a warrior. I mean, that kid, she was not going to be denied in that fourth quarter. Some of those takes she had to the basket, turnaround, strong jumpers. I don't know what happened to her nose, but it was obviously, we all saw a lot of blood. That poor kid has broken her nose, I think, every single year she's been at Iowa. But she is a warrior. She's a leader. She's the heart and soul of our team.
We're going to move to the front row, Howard.
Lisa, Howard Magdal with The Nets, congratulations. Just early on, there was a timeout, and then coming out of it, you guys went to Hannah a couple of times. Seems like that was a point of emphasis. Can you take me through just, whether there was a conversation that went along with it and that decision-making process?
Yeah, we felt like when we got a first foul on Aaliyah, we had to go at her. She's such a good player. And I always tell our team the easiest way to guard somebody is to put them on the bench. So I thought, we did a good job of ISOing her and letting Hannah draw another foul.
Robert Fembers, Cleveland.com. Congrats, Coach. Has it hit you yet that you only have one game left with Caitlin? And what's been your favorite part of watching her grow on the court?
No, it hasn't hit me that I only have one game with her. That's going to be rough because it's been such a joy to coach her and to be a part of watching women's basketball grow and be excited about her. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
What's been your favorite part about watching her grow on the basketball court?
It's been her maturity. It's been her leadership. It's this kind of game. A few years ago, she would have gotten so frustrated. She would have been, really upset in the huddles. She wasn't that at all. And sometimes people can feed off of her if she's like emotionally in a bad way. So I thought that her composure in the huddle, even when things weren't going well for her in the first half, was really a sign of her growth.
Coach, we're going to go to our right and far right.
All right, Deion Cash, Fox Sports. Congratulations, coach. Two-part question. You beat a legend like Gino Auriemma, and now you're taking on another legend in Dawn Staley. How are you able, what's the mentality going into the next game? And obviously, this is the game everybody wanted to see, Iowa, South Carolina. Talk about it a little bit for us.
First of all, I mean, going against Gino, he is one of the best minds in our game. He is unbelievable. I mean, the success that he's had, and he has dealt a really tough hand this year with all the injuries. I mean, for him to be in this game with all the injuries that he had to some of his star players is unbelievable. So, my hat's off to Gino, like it always is, because he's, somebody that has been very, very successful in our game. Going against Dawn tomorrow, obviously, again, our Olympic coach, everybody's pretty good at this level, though. I mean, when you're getting, into the Final Four, you're going to go against good coaches and you're going to have great players. So we'll just be excited to give it a try tomorrow. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Coach?
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. You and Caitlin in particular have talked for weeks, months about getting Hannah to have more confidence and play with that confidence. What did it, seeing that transform tonight or kind of play out tonight, how meaningful is that? And how did you guys get her to do that?
We elected her to put on the Iowa, slap that on the chart tonight to go to the championship game. We just kept telling her how good she was. And honestly, the only thing that stopped her from being great was her own self. It was her own doubt. And she is a beautiful athlete, an explosive athlete, and she just held herself back. And so we're trying to talk to her about positive self-talk instead of negative self-talk, and kept pouring into her about, you can do this. You can be such a beast if you want to be. And so I'm just so pleased with her growth tonight. She just took, as a sophomore and a young sophomore, she took another big leap tonight.
Coach, I want to thank you for your time
Thank
this evening
you.
and best of luck on
Thank you
Sunday,
very
3
much.
o'clock.